My father runs this department, so let's make this quick. The laugh that follows is sharp and dismissive. Casey Dalton, 21 years old, delivers the line like she's closing a transaction, not answering a judge. Judge Frank Caprio doesn't blink. Miss Dalton, you're addressing the court. That means you answer questions, not negotiate outcomes. Do you understand the charges against you? I understand this is overblown. That's not what I asked. Casey's attorney, Nina Park, rises smoothly. Your Honor, my client is prepared to resolve this matter today. We'd like to pay the fines and move forward. Miss Park, sit down. This court is not a payment portal. The words land quietly, but they land hard. Nina Park hesitates, then sits. Caprio taps his pen once. Officer DeSantis, confirm we have the body cam audio queued. Yes, Your Honor. Good. Before we pull the audio, tell us where you're watching from and subscribe to Order in the Court. This only gets more uncomfortable. The clerk steps forward. Docket 24 to 8,891. Commonwealth versus Casey Ann Dalton. Charges: disorderly conduct, obstruction of a permitted delivery zone, interference and intimidation directed at an officer during lawful duty. Citation issued by Officer Marco Reyes, Traffic and Patrol, on Thursday at 11:14 a.m. Caprio leans forward. Miss Dalton, did you receive a copy of the citation at the scene? I did. And did you read it? I looked at it. That's not the same. Miss Park, is your client prepared to address these charges in full today? Nina Park stands again, more cautiously this time. Your Honor, we believe the appropriate resolution is to pay the fines and close the matter. My client has no prior criminal record. Counselor. I didn't ask about her record. I asked if she's prepared to address the facts. Sit down. Caprio flips a page. There's a notation here. Prior administrative warning from campus parking enforcement last fall. Not a criminal matter, but context for judgment. Miss Dalton, what happened in that incident? Casey shrugs. I parked in a reserved spot by accident. I moved the car. After how long? I don't remember. The note says 2 hours. The complaint was filed by a facilities coordinator who couldn't access a loading dock. Caprio sets the page down. That's not punishment, it's pattern. Nina Park tries again. Your Honor, my client acknowledges she could have handled Thursday's situation better. She's willing to pay the fines today and move on. Miss Park, paying a fine doesn't teach anything except how to write a check. I want to understand what happened. Miss Dalton, walk me through Thursday morning. Casey exhales, audibly annoyed. I was meeting a friend near the corner of Westminster and Union. There was a delivery truck blocking the curb. I told the driver he needed to move. He wouldn't. I parked behind him to make a point. You obstructed a permitted delivery zone. He was taking up the whole block. Was his truck displaying a valid delivery permit? Silence. Miss Dalton? I didn't check. That's a problem. Because he had one. Let me read you one line from the written statement submitted by Daniel Ortiz, the driver. The permit window is tight. Delay cancels the slot. Casey waves a hand. No one got hurt. Nina Park objects. Your Honor, we're introducing emotional context that isn't material to the citation. Counselor, harm isn't just injury. It's disruption of lawful process. Mr. Ortiz had a legal right to that space. Your client blocked it, then escalated when corrected. That's not a misunderstanding. That's obstruction. Caprio turns to the officer standing near the side wall. Officer Reyes, please read your narrative into the record. Officer Marco Reyes steps forward, calm and precise. At 11:02 a.m., I responded to a complaint of a vehicle obstructing a permitted delivery zone at Westminster and Union. Upon arrival, I observed a gray sedan parked directly behind a commercial delivery truck, displaying a valid municipal permit. The sedan's driver, later identified as Casey Dalton, was standing near the truck arguing with the delivery driver. I approached and informed Miss Dalton she was obstructing a permitted zone and needed to move her vehicle. She refused. She then photographed my badge number and stated, "My father's office will handle you." When I began writing the citation, she said, "Enjoy traffic school duty." Caprio pauses. Officer Reyes, did you perceive that statement as a threat? Yes, Your Honor. Casey leans forward. That was sarcasm. I was frustrated. Sarcasm doesn't move a truck, Miss Dalton. Caprio nods to the bailiff. Officer DeSantis, play the body cam audio. Just the relevant exchange. A brief hiss of static, then Casey's voice, clipped and sharp. Enjoy traffic school duty. Caprio lets the silence hold for a moment. Miss Dalton, your father is Police Chief Robert Dalton of the Providence Police Department, correct? Yes. And when you said traffic school duty, were you referring to a potential reassignment for Officer Reyes? I was being sarcastic. Officer Reyes, how did you interpret it? As leverage, Your Honor, an implied consequence for doing my job. Caprio turns to his clerk. Miss Reyes, were there any contacts to this court or the department regarding this case prior to today's hearing? The clerk flips through a log. Yes, Your Honor. 2 missed calls and 1 voicemail, all from a number registered to the office of the Chief Providence Police Department, all within 1 hour of the citation timestamp. Play the voicemail. A man's voice. Controlled and professional. This is calling from Chief Dalton's office regarding case 24 to 8891. We'd like to discuss the matter and explore resolution options before it escalates. Please return this call as soon as possible. Nina Park is on her feet. Your Honor, my client is not responsible for calls made by third parties. This is prejudicial. Overruled. Pressures on process are relevant. I'm not accusing anyone of criminal conduct. I'm documenting facts on the record. That's transparency. Casey shifts in her seat. I didn't ask anyone to call. Maybe not, but someone thought it would help. Caprio looks at the clerk again. Is Mr. Daniel Ortiz available to give a brief statement? He is, Your Honor. By phone. Put him through. A man's voice, steady and matter-of-fact, fills the speaker. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm a licensed commercial delivery driver. I had a valid 30-minute permit for Westminster and Union, issued by the city. My delivery window was 11 to 30 a.m. When I arrived at 10:58, the zone was clear. At 11:05, a sedan parked directly behind me, blocking my exit. The driver, Miss Dalton, told me I was hogging the street and refused to move. I called non-emergency dispatch. Officer Reyes arrived at 11:12. By the time the vehicle was cleared, I'd missed my window. One missed 30-minute window triggers a reroute and liquidated damages. I lost the job, Casey mutters. That's not my fault. Caprio catches it. Miss Dalton, if you have something to say it clearly. I said that's not my fault. He should have planned better. Mr. Ortiz had a permit. You didn't. He planned. You blocked. There's no gray area here. Daniel Ortiz continues. Your Honor, I don't want money from her. I want people to understand that delivery permits exist for a reason. We're not illegally parked. We're working. Enforcement neutrality matters. Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Your statement is on the record. The line clicks off. Caprio picks up another document. Miss Reyes, this is a text message screenshot submitted by the prosecution. Can you read it? From Casey Dalton to an unnamed contact, timestamp 11:26 a.m. Thursday. Got cited. He'll make calls. Don't sweat it. Casey's jaw tightens. That was private. It was discoverable. Miss Dalton, let me lay out a timeline. Citation issued at 11:14 a.m. Your text sent at 11:26 a.m. Calls from your father's office. Begin at 11:48 a.m. Voicemail. Left at 12:03 p.m. Someone moved fast. I didn't ask him to, but you expected it. Influence attempts don't rewrite events. Nina Park stands again, slower this time. Your Honor, I'd like to request that the remainder of this hearing be handled off the public calendar. Media attention could create unfair bias and distract from a fair resolution. Miss Park, the remedy for bias is sunlight, not shadows. We're staying on the record. Caprio fixes Casey with a calm, steady gaze. I'm going to ask you 3 yes or no questions. Did you obstruct a permitted delivery zone? Yes. Did you photograph Officer Reyes's badge and invoke your father's office? Casey hesitates. I took a picture. That's not a no. Did you invoke your father's office? Yes. Did you make a statement that Officer Reyes reasonably perceived as a threat to his assignment? I was being sarcastic. That's not a no, Miss Dalton. The record shows intimidation. Your Honor, this feels targeted. Casey's voice cracks slightly. People block spaces every day and don't end up in court. You're not targeted. You're noticed. Most people don't photograph badge numbers. Most people don't say my father's office will handle you. Most people don't have calls placed to the court within an hour. That's not targeting. That's consequence. Nina Park shifts uncomfortably. Your Honor, Miss Dalton is a college student with no criminal record. A single lapse shouldn't define her future. I agree. That's why I'm treating this as a learning gap, not a character verdict. The prior administrative warning was a whisper. This citation is a sentence. If we don't speak clearly now, the next consequence might be an officer who hesitates to enforce the law because he's afraid of retaliation. 5 seconds. 7, 10, 12. No one moves. No one speaks. Casey stares at the table. Nina Park's pen hovers. Officer Reyes stands still near the wall. Then Caprio speaks, quietly. Accountability gets quiet, so truth can be heard. Here's my finding. The evidence supports all 3 charges. Officer Reyes's narrative is credible and corroborated by body cam audio, the tow log, and Mr. Ortiz's permit record. Miss Dalton obstructed a permitted delivery zone, escalated the situation through intimidation tactics, and invoked her father's position in a manner that Officer Reyes reasonably perceived as a threat. Caprio pauses. This court does not weigh cases based on titles, connections, or family position. Conduct is the only currency here. Miss Dalton, your father's office does not get to intervene. Your status does not erase harm. The law is not a velvet rope. He turns a page. I also note the prior administrative warning. That warning was instructional, not punitive. You were told once that reserved spaces have function. You chose not to internalize that lesson. Privilege hid the consequences. Now they're visible. Consequences teach what privilege hid. The base fines total $520. Disorderly conduct, $150. Obstruction of a permitted zone, $300. Interference with an officer, $70. There are no towing or administrative fees assessed to you. Mr. Ortiz bore those costs because of your conduct. Casey exhales sharply. Caprio holds up a hand. I'm not finished. I'm staying a portion of that total $280 contingent on your completion of a restorative accountability plan. If you complete it fully and on time, that portion is remitted. If you don't, it's reinstated and you pay the full amount. Here's what the plan requires. First, a written apology to Officer Marco Reyes and Daniel Ortiz. Not a form letter, not a public relations statement. A real apology that names what you did and what you learned. You will deliver it in person if both men agree to meet you. If either declines, you'll mail it and the court will confirm receipt. Second, 120 hours of community service with the Providence Police Department Community Relations Division. Not photo ops, not press events. You'll work resident support calls, assist with permit education outreach, schedule liaison tasks, and handle direct constituent questions. The division commander will submit a log to the court. Third, you'll co-assist 3 public workshops on delivery and accessible zone rules. No cameras, no branding, just education. Fourth, you'll write and submit a short public service announcement script for teens about compliance and respect during traffic stops. The script will be vetted by this court. No family mentions, no branding, no grandstanding, just truth. Fifth, you'll complete a youth driver reflection course covering the impact of obstruction, the function of permits, and the ethics of compliance. Certification of completion will be filed with the court. Sixth, you'll submit an 800-word written reflection on what you learned through this process. Not slogans, not fluff, plain truth. Caprio sets his pen down. Mercy isn't a discount, it's a contract. Additionally, I'm making the following recommendations on the record to the Municipal Court Administration, the Traffic Division, and the Providence Police Department. 1. Establish an ex parte influence log for all cases. Any off-record communication attempts related to pending cases will be documented and published in a weekly public summary. 2. Implement a mandatory recusal or supervisor cosign protocol. If any officer, clerk, or court staff member is contacted by a command-level office or elected official regarding an active case, that staff member must either recuse themselves or obtain a supervisor's co-signature on all related actions. 3. Develop a delivery and accessible zone enforcement escalation guide. Violations that obstruct permitted work should trigger immediate tow or clear priority with neutral scripting. 4. Launch a court clerk hotline for interference attempts. Any effort to influence a case through intimidation, connection, or coercion can be reported anonymously. Every report will be investigated. 5. Establish an officer retaliation shield notice procedure. Officers who report influence attempts will receive documented protection from retaliatory reassignment or discipline. 6. Distribute a teen driver education module through high schools and colleges that covers real-world impact of traffic violations, especially those involving intimidation or leverage. If you agree influence shouldn't touch traffic cases, subscribe to Order in the Court so this model spreads. The door opens. A man in uniform enters mid-50s, silver at the temples, the bearing of someone accustomed to command. Your Honor, I'm Chief Robert Dalton. I'd like a moment to discuss my daughter's case. Caprio doesn't stand. Chief, this is an active hearing. You're welcome to observe, but I won't discuss the case with you outside the record. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking to resolve this quietly, for everyone's benefit. Chief, quiet resolutions are how patterns continue. This case is being handled on the record, in open court, like every other case. Casey interrupts. Dad, stop. This is my hearing, not yours. Chief Dalton turns toward her, surprised. Caprio's gaze sharpens. This is not your case to manage, Chief. Your daughter has counsel. She has a voice. Step back and let her use it. The chief hesitates, then nods and moves to the back row. Over the next 4 months, Casey completes the plan piece by piece. Week 1. She drafts the apology. The court rejects it too polished, too vague. She tries again. Better. Officer Reyes agrees to meet her at the station. The conversation is brief, uncomfortable, and necessary. She listens more than she speaks. Daniel Ortiz declines the in-person meeting but accepts the written apology. He emails the court. She named what she did wrong. That's enough. Weeks 2 through 8. Casey logs 120 hours with community relations. She answers permit questions, schedules ride-alongs for neighborhood councils, and assists with complaint intake. One resident tells her, access and permits aren't favors, they're agreements. She writes it down. Week 9. She co-assists 3 workshops on delivery and accessible zones. No cameras, no posts. Just residents, delivery drivers, and city planners talking through real scenarios. Week 10. She submits the PSA script. The court kicks it back too much PR language, not enough accountability. She rewrites it plainly. The second draft passes. The driver reflection course takes another 2 weeks. She completes it without complaint. The ledger is simple. 120 hours logged, 3 workshops completed, 1 behavior corrected. Officer Reyes tells the court, she showed up. That's the first step. Should every intimidation case include mandatory service with the agencies involved, yes or no? Tell us below and subscribe to Order in the Court. 4 months after the initial hearing, Casey returns to court. This time, she's alone, no counsel, no father, no entourage. Caprio reviews the submitted documents. The apologies, the service log, the PSA script, the course certificate, the written reflection. Miss Dalton, I've read your reflection. I want to hear you summarize it in your own words. No script. Casey stands. I thought obstruction was just about parking. I didn't understand that permits are part of a system. Delivery windows, enforcement neutrality, economic consequences. When I blocked Mr. Ortiz, I didn't just inconvenience him. I cost him a job. She pauses. I also didn't realize how much I used my father's position as a shield. I've spent my whole life assuming someone would smooth things over. That's not accountability. That's avoidance. What did you learn from Officer Reyes? That respect isn't rank, it's behavior. When I photographed his badge and said what I said, I wasn't being sarcastic. I was leveraging power I didn't earn. That's intimidation, not frustration. Caprio nods. You stopped borrowing power and started earning character. He signs a form. I'm remitting $200 of the stayed portion. You still owe $320 total. You'll pay it in installments over 6 months. The court will monitor compliance. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me. Thank the people who taught you what I couldn't. 6 months later, the policies take root. The ex parte influence log is published weekly on the municipal court website. Officers receive training on the recusal and supervisor co-sign protocols. 3 cases are flagged in the first quarter. All are reassigned without incident. The Delivery Zone Enforcement Guide is adopted citywide. Response times for obstructed permitted zones improve by 35%. The clerk hotline receives 12 reports of interference attempts in the first 3 months. 7 lead to formal reviews. The Officer Retaliation Shield Notice is incorporated into department policy. 2 officers file reports. Both receive documented protection. Casey's PSA script is distributed to 19 high schools and included in driver education materials. It's not viral. It's not celebrated, but it's used, and that's enough. One delivery driver emails the court. My nephew watched that video and asked why blocking a truck matters. We had a real conversation. Thank you. On a quiet Friday afternoon, Caprio finishes his last case of the week. Before leaving, he writes a single principle on a note card and pins it to the bulletin board behind his bench. Titles expire. Habits remain. Choose the ones you can live with. He thinks of Casey Dalton, of Officer Marco Reyes, of Daniel Ortiz waiting in traffic with a permit in his hand. One sentence stays with him, something he told Casey during her final appearance. Power that doesn't listen becomes cruelty. He turns off the light and locks the door. Dramatization for storytelling and education. Not legal advice or reporting.